My name is Peg Murphy-Bright, and I'm the president of the board of the Friends of the Westerly Library. And I'm also an enthusiastic reader of all genres, especially children's books. And I'm also happily a book sorter, so I get to come across all kinds of donated gems, especially endearing children's books. But I'm here to tell you about two of my very favorite children's books. Both the books I'm going to tell you about have a common theme, the bath or the bath. And both bath experiences have unintended consequences. My heroine, the 6-year-old Eloise, who, as you will read in Eloise Takes a Bath, loves to take a bath, as a British nanny calls it. And my hero is the puppy Harry, who, as you will read in Harry the Dirty Dog, hates taking a bath. Both these books were written in the 1950s, and coincidentally, I was a little girl during that time frame, so it was only natural that I would claim Eloise and Harry as my very special friends. But let's start with Eloise Takes a Bath. But first, a little background. Eloise Takes a Bath was the 5th book written in the famous Eloise series. And in fact, it was published posthumously, which means after the author died. Eloise came to life as a 6-year-old girl in 1954, the very same year I turned 6. She sprung from the rich imagination of author and famed Hollywood celebrity and musicologist Kay Thompson and her clever and whimsical illustrator, Hilary Knight. The imaginary Eloise lived with her nanny at the famed Plaza Hotel in New York City on the very top floor. I grew up 25 blocks north on 5th Avenue and got to go to the Plaza for tea time all the time. Eloise was the daughter of an extremely rich young woman who traveled constantly and left poor Eloise to her own devices. Did I say poor Eloise? She was well taken care of with all the niceties a famous hotel could supply, under the care of her loving, very, very, very proper English nanny. Eloise knew everything about the hotel and everyone in it, and sometimes she knew too much. She used to pour water down the mail slot. She was always getting into trouble. Mayor Koch of New York City said that she was one of the more delightfully fiendish literary heroines of the time. And Maurice Standick, of Where the Wild Things Are, called Eloise the epitome of a brazen, loose-limbed, delicious little girl monster. She lived with her sneaker-wearing turtle Skipperdy, the Plaza being the only ideal hotel in the world that would allow a turtle. So declared Eloise. And her endearing little pug named Weenie. Needless to say, Eloise was always in trouble, as any little 6-year-old girl would be. But it was endearing trouble. It was trouble, 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 but she always managed to get out of it. One day, her nanny tells her it's time to take your bath, bath, bath. Nanny repeated everything 3 times. So what trouble can one little girl, her turtle, and her pug dog get into while taking a bath, bath, bath? Well, just imagine yourselves in that tub, enjoying the vast, sometimes underwater world of your own creation, pretending you were on a 3-week-long journey to the English Channel, Scotland, and Wales, all the while splashing, splashing, splashing. Did I say splashing water all over the bathroom floor until it dripped, dripped, dripped from the top floor to the very bottom floor, all the way down to the main ballroom, where, gasp, they were preparing for a very grand Venetian ball. It was all over the news that day that the Plaza Hotel was sinking and flooding, and the manager was in an uproar. He raced up to blame Eloise, whose response was, after all, I'm only a 6-year-old little girl with her hand on her hips. Eloise had actually saved the ball, because when everyone took the elevator all the way down to the ballroom, they were mystified and full of wonder to see how the ballroom was transformed into the Venetian canal. And everyone was floating by in gondolas and drinking and carousing to their heart's content, dressed in their fancy masks and costumes. Eloise said when she was the proclaimed heroine, "Oh, I just adore taking a bath." Drum roll, please, ta-da. And I'll show you the picture of that very beautiful ballroom, where everyone is floating around in their gondolas and having a marvelous time. As I said, drum roll please, because we cannot forget our friend Harry. Meanwhile, out in the suburbs or the countryside where Harry resided, we had a very different experience. Harry the dog could be heard howling I don't want to take a bath. No, no, no bath for me. Harry the Dirty Dog sprang to the mind of Jean Zion and was illustrated charmingly by Margaret Lloyd Graham, and it was first published in 1956 in black and white. And actually it was republished with splashes of color in 2002 by the same illustrator. Harry was essentially a very happy dog who was white with black spots. He lived a happy life in the country with his very happy and wonderful family. In fact, he lived a rather ordinary life, but it was a happy life compared to the high-living Eloise. He loved everything and everyone except the dreaded bath. How many of you children hate taking a bath? I know I did when I was his age. I wasn't quite as imaginative as Eloise in the tub, and we can't all be Eloise, can we? One day at bath time, Harry decided he'd had enough. So he ran down the stairs out into the garden and he buried the bath scrub brush into the dirt. And he decided to go on a most excellent Harry journey through the neighborhood where he proceeded to get himself extremely dirty. He rolled around in the dirt and the mud with the other dogs. He rolled around in an oil patch. He did everything that every little child wishes they could do to avoid the bath. But by the end of the day, Harry was hungry and he was feeling a little sorry for himself and a bit homesick. So Harry decided to scoot on home. When he got home, he was a happy puppy and he saw his children and his adult parents. But they didn't recognize him and he couldn't understand why. What had happened to poor Harry was he had turned black with white spots during his wonderful experience. And nobody recognized him, and he did everything in his power to be recognized. He did all his favorite tricks. He jumped up and down, he ran for the stick, he barked and he yelped, but they still didn't recognize him. So in desperation, Harry went to the garden and he dug up the brush he had buried, ran up the stairs of the house with the children madly following him. And the parents said, I think that dirty dog needs a bath. And lo and behold, as they were scrubbing him, he started to turn into a white dog again with black spots. And the children cried, it's Harry! Harry was so happy, but he was so tired. So Harry crawled up on his little bed, but being the mischievous little Harry he was, he still hid the bath brush under his bed cushion. But all came out well in the end. But the interesting thing was, Harry had to convince his family that it really was him. And so the moral of the story is, and I'll quote some fine phrases, never judge a book by its cover, and always remember there is no place like home. So both our heroine Eloise and our hero both had unintended consequences to their bath, but in the end, all was well that ends well. And this is little Harry, a cover of him being white and black and white. And I think you might enjoy him rolling around in the oil patches. And in the end, we have a very contented, sleeping, happy, and wonderfully homebound Harry the Dirty Dog.